And good morning once again. Welcome to another Living Hope Today study, my friends. Today we are in 1 Samuel 17, and we are seeing a contrast develop that is completely undeniable. There's one king that doesn't really know God. He won't obey God, even when the instructions are set before him very clearly. He still won't do it. And then there's another person, a shepherd boy, somebody that would be nominal, weak, maybe discarded as unimportant. But that person believes the Lord can do whatever the Lord wants to do. He will not leave his servant unattended. He will defend him. Well, that's David, obviously. David's already been anointed king by Samuel. But today, God proves it. God shows the difference between fear and faith through the life of Saul and the life of David. Let me show you what I mean. It's a long chapter, so we're going to have to hurry today. Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Socoh in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes Damin between Socoh and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. It was common in the ancient world that one army would be on one ridge and one army would be on the other ridge, and there'd be a valley or a plain in between them where they would eventually, after looking at each other for a while and screaming threats at each other, they would eventually rush into that middle ground and kill each other to see who could win the battle. All right, so that's what's set up here in the first part of chapter 17. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. Oh, here we go. A champion named Goliath, heard of him? Who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. Look at this. Listen to this. He was over 9 feet tall. Could have been an NBA star. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. The point being, you and me, we couldn't even pick it up. He wears it as a garment. On his legs, he wore bronze greaves. Those are like shin protectors. And the bronze javelin, again made out of metal, very heavy, was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, again huge and heavy, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Why all this detail? Well, we're being painted a picture here, aren't we? This guy is massive with massive weaponry, and he has to be stronger than 10 guys. I mean, it just sounds like he's invincible. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out to line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me." Here comes the threat. "If he's able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Hey, so let's forget about the paradigm of everybody rushes into the middle and tries to kill each other. Just send one of your guys. Well, of course, who can compete with a monster, with a giant, with a guy that's so abnormally huge? What man could do that? It's impossible. Or is it? Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the ranks of Israel. Give me a man or let us fight each other." Come on. In middle school, we used to say, "Choose ya," and that meant we were going to fight. Well, here Goliath is saying this to the whole camp of the Israelite army. On hearing the Philistines' words, here we see the first contrast. What happens? Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Okay, so the guys that have no faith, no understanding of the power of God, no willingness to submit to the command of God, they're terrified. Why? Because the threat is real. They're going to die for sure. God is not in their equation at all. Now, David was the son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was old and well advanced in years. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to war. The firstborn was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. So Jesse's old. He had 3 guys from his family are already there at the fight. David, here we go, 17:14. Here comes the foil, the contrast to the power of Saul. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. 15, David's still running back and forth, going back home to worry about the sheep, and then bringing supplies back to his brothers who are in the army. For 40 days, the Philistine came forward every morning and evening and took his stand. So 6 weeks are going by. Goliath is screaming out insults to the Israelite army. The Israelite army is terrified. David's going back and forth. Now Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are, and bring back some assurance from them." So the author of the story is intent on bringing us the fact that David has nothing to do with fighting. He's the grocery boy. He's running food back and forth. He's told to bring a report to dad. Well, they are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah fighting against the Philistines. Well, early in the morning, David left the flock with a shepherd, loaded up, and set out as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Again, every day we're going to yell at each other till we decide to actually fight. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines, facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies. He ran to the battle lines. He greeted his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance. Oh, here we go. And David heard it. Oh. Now David is aware of this giant talking about how he's going to kill those Israelites. When the Israelites saw the man, they all ran from him in great fear. The text is sure to tell us that the whole army is unwilling to encounter Goliath because of his size. They're afraid. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage." In other words, you're going to be part of the royal family if you can kill this guy. And he'll be exempt from he will exempt his father's family from taxes in Israel. Wow, hey, you get a bride and you get out of paying taxes? Man, not to mention the victory, right? There's a lot of incentive here. David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" And then watch this question. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? There it is. Pay attention to that. Why? Because David recognizes that God is real. David recognizes the offense to God that this Philistine named Goliath is presenting, and David is indignant. He's not going to just sit back and go, "Oh, well, we should run for it." No, he's upset to the point where he's going to do something about it. It's his heart. Remember, God's looking for the one with the heart. Well, David shows it here. They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him." When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him, we get to have some family controversy here. Eliab, David's older brother, heard him speaking with the men. He burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the desert?" In other words, you're nothing. Why aren't you doing your job looking after the sheep? "I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." Oh, wow. So David's brother Eliab, his oldest brother, has a super bad opinion about David. Who do you think you are? You're wicked. Wow, you're conceited. David is confident in the Lord. He's not going to let his family's opinion stop him. Now, what have I done, said David. Can't I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. And what David said was overheard and reported to Saul. So Saul sent for him. The scene shifts. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Hey, king, I don't know what you're thinking about. Why are you upset? Yeah, sure, this guy's huge, but so what? God's bigger than this guy. That's the underlying theme here. So David is correcting the king. David says, your servant will go and fight him. Saul replied, you're not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. Why not? Well, you're only a boy. And he's been a fighting man from his youth. This guy's a warrior. He's huge. You're just a little shepherd boy. You can't do anything. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Notice two things. David is fearless, right? But the second thing to notice is God has already prepared David for fighting through these experiences that he's had while he has been this insignificant little shepherd boy out in the field. All right? He went after it, it says. All right. In other words, David has this really super strong sense of what's right and what's wrong, and he's going to make it right if he can. So watch this. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God. Wow. Look at this. The Lord who delivers me from the paw of the lion and the bear, and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you. David has full confidence, absolute confidence, but his confidence isn't in himself. His confidence is in the God he serves. The Lord will deliver me. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on the sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. I can't go in these, he said to Saul. So Saul is still thinking conventional strength, conventional battle, conventional wisdom, man-made effort. David's still thinking, the Lord will deliver me. The Lord will give me the victory. I don't need all this armament. I don't need all these battle-ready things that you guys normally use. I can't go out in these because I am not used to them. So he took them off. Here, keep your sword, keep your shield. I don't need that. Then he took his staff in his hand. Oh, here's what I need. He chose 5 smooth stones from the stream. He put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag. And with his sling in his hand, he approached the Philistine. So we got this huge warrior, massive in size, massive in weaponry, and we got this little shepherd boy with his sling and a couple of rocks. Wow. What's going to happen? Well, conventional wisdom says David's going to get killed. But God's wisdom says, no, that's not right. Meanwhile, the Philistine with his shield bearer in front of him kept coming closer to David. Okay, it's on. Let's do it. He looked David over and saw that he was only a boy, ruddy and handsome, and he despised him. So Goliath is insulted that the best thing the Israeli army can do is bring out this shepherd boy. And he said to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. The threat gets issued. David's response, David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. I'm not here in my own strength, and I don't care about your battle armaments, and I don't care about your size, because I know the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel. You're not just defying us, you're defying our God, and we are going to have victory over you. This day the Lord will hand you over to me. There it is. And I will strike you down, and I'm going to cut off your head. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and the whole world will do what? Well, notice two things. This day the Lord will. You see that? The Lord will. I'm not dependent on my own strength. I'm dependent on him. And everybody in the world's going to know there's a God in Israel by the time we're done with this. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. Pure faith, pure confidence, but not self-confidence, confidence in the Lord. As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him, reaching into his bag and taking out a stone. He slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the scabbard. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. They're afraid of the shepherd boy, but they're really afraid of the God that the shepherd boy serves, because they see that the strength of God has been applied and their giant is dead. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Sha'araim road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistine camp, they plundered their camp, and David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem. And he put the Philistine's weapon in his own tent. Now this is fast forwarding us to a different situation, but it's supplying us with a fact. Okay? We're going to now go back to the battle zone and hear this discussion. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistines, he said to Abner, commander of the army, Abner, whose son is that young man? And Abner replied, as surely as you live, O king, I do not know. Well, the king now says, find out whose son this young man is. Wait a minute. In chapter 16, David was playing music for Saul, and he made him his armor bearer. And now we're looking at, what do you mean? Who is this guy? How can Saul say that? Well, here's the answer to the question. In the Near East, the question would really imply more, what is the lineage of this man? In other words, Saul has been looking at David as nothing more than a servant boy who plays music for him. There's been no real true understanding of friendship or any sort of camaraderie. He's just a servant. All right, now that he has defeated the enemy, now that Saul's going to give him his daughter and keep him tax exempt for the rest of his life, Saul has a question. Who is this guy? What's his lineage? What's his legal identity, his tribal status? Is he eligible for royal reward? And just notice that David now moves from anonymous servant to national hero. As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. Whose son are you, young man? Saul asked him. David said, I'm the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. A long chapter, a long study this morning. What do we know? Well, when we serve the Lord, we need to serve the Lord from the perspective that God can do anything God wants to do, and we belong to him, and we don't have to be afraid of evil. We don't have to be afraid of enemies. We have to stand in the power of God and trust him. Do what he says, follow him, and just know that God defends the people that love him as they serve his purpose. Serve him well today, church. God bless you.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood. It's Jesus. But do you know who He is? He's the image of the invisible God, and He's the brightness of His glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.